Stop doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Surrender to your soul. My daughter's persistence and extreme hard work continue to amaze me. With this video, I hope to guide her towards something new. This is what Luba wrote on Instagram after failing to achieve her goal for the 5th time. I'm never gonna quit. Not ever. You lose way more than you win in this sport. And honestly, losing can be just as subjective as winning. This weekend, I defended my Class D title and won my class again. Something I'm incredibly proud of. But yes, I also came up short in the overall once again. It's honestly such a confusing mix of emotions. My goal has always been to earn my IFBB Pro Card, and each time I get just slightly edged out by another amazing athlete. 5 times overall runner-up sounds frustrating, and trust me, sometimes it is. But winning my class 5 times is also something I never want to overlook or take for granted. That is still a huge accomplishment. So yes, I'm proud. And yes, I'm disappointed too. Both can exist at the same time. But one thing about me, I'm never giving up on myself. My time will come. For now, we eat the well-deserved treats and send them straight to the glutes. Dear Luba, congratulations on defending your Class D title for the 5th time. Such accomplishments are achieved by the very special few. And yes, you must be very proud and grateful. Truly, I'm amazed that you have persisted for so long, and you say you will never quit. As you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing while expecting a different result. By doing something completely different in your preparation, you will reach your goal the 6th time around. Of that, I am 100% certain. However, before I reveal my perspective to you, I will explain a few things. Humans completely identify with their body. Humans are taught to believe that we are our body and nothing else. In fact, our body is just a temporary vehicle that soul creates for herself for a particular lifetime. The human ego identifies completely and totally with the body. Ego only exists in this one lifetime, in this body, and he dies with the death of the body. However, soul is eternal. When the body vehicle together with ego dies, the soul takes a well-deserved break, and then she evaluates her past journey and all her accomplishments. Every lifetime brings the soul to a higher level of consciousness and maturity. The older the soul, the more challenging are the difficulties she creates for herself, for her next lifetime. The greater the challenges, the more turbocharged is the evolution of consciousness of the soul. Younger souls are typically at the level of consciousness of the white sheep. They do not want to create disturbances and simply want to get along. They believe most governments are good and are there to serve them. The older souls may start as a young human at the level of consciousness of the white sheep, but they quickly develop their confidence and personalities and become black sheep. As a black sheep, I become more and more individualized. As my consciousness grows, fear is reduced. I become a stronger and a more confident individual. Sometimes I can even become a spiritualized yellow sheep. This higher level of consciousness develops an even stronger and bigger ego. A strong ego is absolutely necessary, and yet we're taught to believe that a big ego is a very negative characteristic. Without a strong ego, I remain docile, easily controlled, and very manipulable. Challenging experiences such as sexual abuse, as one example, brings the person the opportunity to grow in consciousness. What does being conscious mean? I remember who I am and behave as such in my daily life. Unfortunately, many people after such a shock experience take on the victim mentality, and that keeps them in the white sheep consciousness level instead of propelling them into the black sheep consciousness level. After an acute shock experience, such as the one I lived when I was arrested and went to jail, I had to make a decision. I could continue fighting with the government and thereby stay in black sheep consciousness. Or I could give up, quit the fight, and return to white sheep consciousness by making myself a victim. Or I could make the decision to surrender to my soul and allow her to dictate what happens next. My bank accounts were frozen, one by one. And finally, because I had no other options, I asked you to open a bank account in your name. I obviously had no idea that you would end up suffering the consequences of bankruptcy because you had agreed to help me out. I ended up in detention together with your stepfather. Initially, I still had access to some money and was able to get out on bail. My very strong, big and determined ego simply would not give up. I was going to fight till the bitter end, and of course, I was convinced that I would eventually win. At that point, my soul created for me the opportunity to go to a 2-day personal creation workshop. Those 2 days provided me with the tools that I needed to logically understand what was going on with me. The government wanted me back as a working slave, not only paying income tax, but also paying $1 million more as a fine, and this was after they confiscated almost $5 million of my accumulated wealth. At that moment, my connection with my soul was strong enough, and therefore I was willing to face the horrible and very scary consequence of jail time. Because of the 2-day person creation workshop, I knew that surrender was necessary and that surrender was not giving up, quitting, or admitting that we were guilty. Surrender is saying, I trust my soul completely and totally. I know that she is driving me to where I need to be to live the experiences that I must live. Surrender is a huge act of courage. Ego, especially a strong, well-developed ego, needs to be in control. Ego will do anything to survive because if I start identifying with my soul and actively dissolve my identification with my body, ego starts weakening. Ego knows it only has this one lifetime, and therefore he is petrified of death. Luba, Your bankruptcy shock pushed you to develop your personality and thereby grow in confidence. Your soul created your initial win in the bikini bodybuilding competition. Since it was relatively easy for you to achieve that accomplishment, your ego convinced you that you will easily achieve your goal of the IFBB Pro Card. You dedicated yourself to that goal with everything you had. With every failure, ego pushed you on to try again and again. Your ego also violently rejected the suggestion that possibly that is not exactly the journey your soul wants you to take. At this juncture, the question remains, what does your soul want? Only you can answer that question. Ego only knows how to repeat the same thing over and over again. Ego mind can't create anything. It can only repeat what it learned in the past. Soul is the only one that creates. She knows everything, but does not have direct access to the human because of the wall of death present in each cell of the human body. Soul will never interfere in the decisions the human is taking. Soul quietly sits in the back of the bus. The bus represents the human body vehicle. All the other characters in the bus are the thousands of ego personalities that are constantly fighting for control of the steering wheel. Soul patiently waits until the day when I remember that I am soul. I then ask my soul to take control of the steering wheel because she not only is a great driver because of all her past life experiences, she is the only one that knows where she's going. Of course, all the ego characters continue to fight, trying to take over control of the steering wheel. However, because I am now conscious of who I am, I continuously and consciously remove the ego characters away from the steering wheel and ask Soul to continue the journey. Today, as the entire world order is collapsing, life for all humans will become more and more challenging, with never-ending suffering. Since humanity has no idea of the fact that ego runs the show, they will continue to be completely confused and disoriented in the unfolding chaos. The collective ego will continue to lie to every human by saying that things will soon get better. The fact is, nothing will get better. It will only keep getting worse because humanity is now ready for the birth of a new species on Earth. However, when I know that I am soul, I also know that she would never create anything that is negative for my evolution. This does not mean that everything will be easy and hunky-dory. What I'm saying is that once I understand the game and the purpose of this game, I can more confidently ride out the challenges that surface. I am now making videos with the spiritual parts of my book. The first one was The Shift, inspired by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Here is a link to the movie he made. Dr. Dyer is no longer with us, but his message continues to inspire many towards a life of meaning and purpose. Luba, you don't need to be a doctor to inspire others. Your followers wanted you to win because you are the main character in a movie they're watching, and they identify with you. If you win, they win. When you lose, they may simply dump you and move on to another character in another movie. and you are the only one left suffering. However, you can change this story. Become a leader with your example of hard work, dedication, perseverance, persistence, and the most important final step, the courage to surrender. Hardly anybody understands ego or soul. Once you remember who you are, you have the power to guide others. Your soul's purpose is much more than you can imagine with your limited, small ego mind. Of that, I am 100% certain. Okay, now I will share my thoughts with you. Of course, any thoughts are ego thoughts. Only you can connect to your soul and then understand what she wants from you. However, my thoughts may serve you, and therefore, here I go. I trust that first and foremost you should change your environment. I believe that you can compete in another competition that is not in Canada, right? You competed in the Bahamas, correct? Your body is perfect. You don't need to get bigger glutes or anything else that is bigger. You need to be centered. And that can only happen when you are connected with your soul. This connection can only come through meditation. You can meditate anywhere, but of course there are toxic environments and positive, infinite love environments. Example. On this chart, you can see that a waterfall emits 10,000 to 50,000 negative ions, and an air-conditioned room emits 0 negative ions. You can meditate in the forest and get 3,000 negative ions, or you can come here and meditate in front of the waterfall. I do not know if Colombia is right for you, but I can't see anything positive with Canada, especially with the coming huge economic turmoils. Lee and I would be very happy to take care of Nala while you travel and discover the country. You would have no rent to pay, and we virtually buy no food because everything is here at the farm. We are starting an extensive garden and even a tilapia pond. I suggest you do a vlog. You would have never-ending, interesting material to share with your audience. People identify with stories that are unique. I know nothing about that business. However, here you will be surrounded with the tools to make things happen. You can find a way to maintain your body in shape and, most importantly, develop your spiritual confidence. Clearly, you will be guided from within. You simply need to sincerely allow soul to take over. You must find the courage to let go of the past. That heavy burden you have been carrying has kept you in victimhood and has prevented the win you have worked so hard to achieve. I let go everything at a ripe old age of 54. You can certainly do it at 34. You have everything to gain from this new adventure and absolutely nothing to lose. Start now by meditating. Meditation with a mantra is a prayer to your soul. Here's my mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate. I surrender to infinite love, Diastati, and aspire for intimate contact with Spirit Soul I, with no expectations. Of course, you will come up with a mantra that resonates with you. Repetition is what matters. I repeat this mantra every morning and every night for half an hour. What has your soul planned for you? Only you can figure that out. My heart and home will always be open for you. I trust we will see you here very soon. Infinite love, Dies Tati. From millennium slavery to individual sovereignty. Let's rejoice, because the insanity we are experiencing is an illusion, which is pushing more and more of us to awaken. Our world is in an evolutionary crisis, because the human mind is ready to go beyond rational intelligence to a greater consciousness. In the Orient, in the 20th century, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother discovered and anchored truth consciousness, the supramental consciousness in the earthly atmosphere. Since then, the supramental consciousness has been operational on Earth as an active evolutionary power. Once well anchored, the new consciousness was ready to move on to the next stage, its popularization and propagation. In the West, in the 21st century, emerged personal creation. Sri Aurobindo synthesized the Eastern and Western ideas of evolution and boldly declared that humans are transitional beings. They're not final. Evolution continues, and humans will be surpassed. This is the future awaiting humanity. This is an unprecedented adventure of consciousness on Earth. One single and sincere look at the present world situation is enough to convince us that it has reached the point of no return. Let's stop repeating our obsolete ways, which can only bring more suffering. Let us all spread the contagion of infinite love. In these times of irremediable dissolution of the illusion, let us keep our faith ardent with an unfailing sincerity. We must choose our soul at all costs. Infinite love.